Captain Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the tactical display. The red dots were everywhere. Hundreds of alien ships filled the space around Earth's outer colonies. Each dot represented a Kythera warship, and each warship carried enough firepower to burn an entire planet. "Sir, we're getting reports from all our listening posts," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station. "The Kythera fleet is massive, bigger than anything we've ever seen." Jake nodded slowly. For 30 years, humanity had known this day would come. The Kythera had swept through 17 star systems like a plague. Every species they found either bent the knee or died. There was never a third option. The bridge of the UES Valiant hummed with quiet activity. Officers moved between stations, checking weapons systems and shield generators. Everyone knew their job. Everyone knew what was at stake. "Captain, incoming transmission from the lead Kythera vessel," reported Communications Officer Ben Taylor. "Put it on screen." The main display flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a nightmare. The Kythera commander stood 8 feet tall, covered in black armor that looked like it had grown from his skin. His face was hidden behind a mask, but his eyes glowed red in the darkness. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am War Commander Thexval of the Kythera hegemony. Your species has been judged weak. Your worlds will be taken. Your people will serve or die." Jake kept his face calm, even though his heart was racing. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. We're willing to discuss terms." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "There are no terms. You have 72 hours to surrender all your colonies. After that, we will take them by force. And if we refuse, then you will learn why 16 species before you chose submission over death." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent except for the soft beeping of computers and the hum of the ship's engines. Commander Lisa Parker stepped forward from her position at the science station. She had spent years studying intercepted Kythera communications. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Captain, they're not bluffing. Every species the Kythera have conquered tried to fight it first. The Zentari had ships twice as fast as ours. The Kythera burned their homeworld in 6 hours. The Vegan Collective had shields that could stop a supernova. The Kythera found a way through them in 3 days." "What makes them so dangerous?" asked Lieutenant Commander Ryan Bell, the ship's tactical officer. Lisa pulled up a holographic display, showing the Kythera homeworld. It was a ball of black rock surrounded by storms that never ended. Lightning bigger than Earth's continents danced across its surface. "They come from Vextar," she said. "Gravity there is 4 times what we have on Earth. The air is poison, the storms can melt steel. The animals that live there make Earth's dinosaurs look like house pets. The Kythera didn't just survive that world. They conquered it." Ryan studied the data with the eye of a soldier. "So they're tough. We knew that already." "It's not just that. They're tough," Lisa continued. "They're perfect killers. They've been fighting for survival since the day they were born. Every Kythera warrior has reflexes faster than our best pilots. Their natural armor can stop bullets. They heal from wounds that would kill a human in minutes." "Then how do we fight them?" asked Amy from her communications station. Jake looked around at the faces of his crew. These were good people, smart people. But they were also scared, and they had every right to be. "We don't fight them like humans," he said finally. "We fight them like Kythera." The room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. The Kythera didn't take prisoners. They didn't show mercy. They didn't care about civilians or children or anyone who couldn't fight back. "Sir," Ryan said carefully, "are you suggesting we abandon the rules of war?" Jake walked to the main display and pulled up a tactical map showing all of humanity's colonies. 12 worlds with millions of people, families, children, all of them now under a death sentence. "The rules of war only work when both sides follow them," he said. "The Kythera have made it clear they won't. So we won't either." He turned to face his crew. "Over the past 30 years we've been preparing for this day. Not just building ships and weapons, but studying how the Kythera fight, learning their tactics, understanding their weaknesses." "Do they have weaknesses?" asked Ben. Lisa stepped forward again. "Every species does. The Kithara are used to fighting enemies who try to match them strength for strength. Species that fight honorably, species that try to protect their civilians. Jake nodded. Which is exactly what we're not going to do. He pressed a button on his command chair and the tactical display changed. Now it showed the human colonies, but they looked different. Empty. All civilian populations have been evacuated to the core worlds, Jake explained. Our outer colonies are now military bases, nothing but soldiers and weapons. Amy looked confused. But sir, if we evacuate everyone, what are we fighting for? We're fighting so that someday they can go home, Jake replied. But right now we're going to show the Kithara what happens when they pick a fight with the wrong species. Ryan was studying the tactical display with new interest. What about their breeding worlds? Intel suggests they keep their young on separate planets away from the fighting. We know about those too, Jake said quietly. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what he was suggesting, and the weight of it pressed down on them like a physical thing. Captain, Lisa said slowly, if we target their non-combatants, we become as bad as they are. Jake looked at her for a long moment. No, Commander. We become worse. And that's exactly what it's going to take to win this war. The alarm klaxons began to sound. Red lights flashed across the bridge as the tactical display updated. The Kithara fleet was moving, beginning their attack on the outer colonies. All hands to battle stations, Jake announced over the ship's intercom. This is not a drill. The Kithara have begun their attack. He settled into his command chair and looked around at his crew one more time. These people trusted him to make the hard choices, to do whatever it took to keep humanity alive. Communications, send a message to all ships in the fleet, he ordered. Initiate protocol, Reaper. No prisoners, no mercy, no quarter. Ben's hands hesitated over his controls. Sir, are you sure? Jake watched as the first Kithara ships began. Their bombing runs on New Denver Colony. He thought about the families that had lived there just weeks ago, children playing in parks, parents working to build a better future. The Kithara had taught humanity a valuable lesson about the nature of war. Now it was time to return the favor. Send the message, Lieutenant, Jake said. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of Ragnarok Station, watching the battle unfold on the massive holographic display. The Kithara fleet had expected an easy victory at the Kepler system. They were getting something very different. Admiral, the first wave of Kithara ships is engaging our forward line, reported Commander Steve Adams from the tactical station. They're hitting us hard, but our ships are holding. Kate nodded, her eyes never leaving the display. The human ships looked ugly compared to the sleek Kithara vessels. Where alien ships were smooth and graceful, human warships were angular blocks of armor and weapons. They had been built for one purpose only. Second wave incoming, called Lieutenant Beth Johnson from her sensor station. 50 Kithara heavy cruisers moving fast. Let them come, Kate said quietly. Major Turner, are your Marines ready? Major Alex Turner's voice crackled through the communication system from the assault ship Reaper. Yes, ma'am, all boarding. Teams are locked and loaded. The Kithara had conquered 16 species using the same tactics every time. They would close with enemy ships, punch through their hulls, and send their warriors inside to kill everyone aboard. No species had ever been able to match them in close combat. Until now. Admiral, Kithara boarding pods are launching, reported Steve. They're targeting the cruiser Denver. Kate smiled coldly. Perfect. Major Turner, you are cleared for Operation Payback. On the display, she watched as human boarding pods launched from hidden positions. While the Kithara were busy trying to break into human ships, human Marines were doing the same thing to them. The first human boarding team hit the Kithara flagship like a hammer. Major Turner led the assault personally, his powered armor making him look like a walking tank. The armor wasn't designed for protection, it was designed to kill. The Kithara had expected to find soft mammals cowering in fear. Instead, they found something that fought like the creatures from their own nightmare world. Contact, Turner's voice came through the radio. We're inside their ship. moving to secure the bridge. The corridors of the Kithara ship were dark and narrow, built for creatures that could see in complete darkness. The human Marines moved through them like ghosts, their armor's sensors showing them everything. A Kithara warrior appeared around a corner, 8 feet of muscle and natural armor. His claws could cut through steel. His reflexes were 3 times faster than any human. He had killed dozens of enemies in hand-to-hand combat. Turner put 3 armor-piercing rounds through his chest before the alien could move. "Sir, these things are tough," reported Sergeant Gary Mitchell over the radio, "but they're not bulletproof." "Keep moving," Turner ordered. "Remember, we're not here to capture this ship. We're here to kill everyone on it." Back on Ragnarok Station, Kate watched the battle reports coming in. The Kithara were learning that humans could be just as brutal as they were, maybe more so. "Admiral, we're getting reports from all the boarding teams," said Commander Adams. "They're encountering heavy resistance, but they're making progress." "What about the Kithara teams that boarded our ships? Dead or dying?" "Our crews are showing them no mercy." Kate had studied every battle the Kithara had ever fought. Every species they had conquered had tried to fight them honorably. The humans were doing something different. They were fighting to win, no matter what it took. Dr. Nathan Brooks worked frantically in his laboratory deep inside Ragnarok Station. For months he had been developing new weapons specifically designed to kill Kithara warriors. The aliens were tough, but they weren't invincible. "Brooks to Admiral Sullivan," he said into his communicator. "The new ammunition is ready for field testing." "What kind of ammunition?" Kate asked. "Acid rounds. They eat through Kithara armor like it's paper. Also sonic grenades that exploit their enhanced hearing. And something special, nanobotic viruses that turn their healing abilities against them." Kate felt a cold satisfaction. "Deploy them immediately." The tide of battle began to turn as human forces started using their new weapons. Kithara warriors who had seemed unstoppable suddenly found themselves dying in ways they had never imagined. Major Turner's team reached the bridge of the Kithara flagship. The alien captain was waiting for them, his red eyes glowing in the darkness. "You fight without honor," the Kithara said in broken English. Turner raised his weapon. "We fight to win." The sonic grenade went off, and the alien captain collapsed, his enhanced hearing turned into a weapon against him. Turner put 2 acid rounds into his chest to make sure he stayed down. "Bridge secured," he reported, "beginning demolition charges." Meanwhile, on another part of the battlefield, Colonel Amy Foster was analyzing intelligence reports from captured Kithara computers. What she found made her blood run cold. "Admiral Sullivan, I need to speak with you immediately," she said over a secure channel. Kate accepted the call on her private screen. "What is it, Colonel?" "I found something in the Kithara databases, information about their breeding programs." Amy's face was pale on the screen. "They don't raise their young on their homeworld. The Deathworld conditions would kill them before they could mature. They have special nursery worlds where the children are kept safe." Kate felt her heart skip a beat. "How many worlds?" "3 that we know of, maybe more. Billions of young Kithara, all in one place." The 2 women stared at each other through the screen, both understanding what this meant. The Kithara had a weakness. A terrible, unthinkable weakness. "Admiral," Amy said quietly, "we could end this war in a single strike." Kate closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were as cold as space itself. "Send me everything you have on those worlds, Colonel. Full tactical analysis." "Ma'am, these are children we're talking about." "No, Colonel, these are future Kithara warriors, and if we don't stop them now, they'll grow up to kill human children." The battle around Kepler's system was winding down. The surviving Kithara ships were retreating, their hulls scarred and burning. They had never faced an enemy like humanity before. War Commander Thexval stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. Half his fleet was gone. The humans had boarded his ships and killed his warriors in hand-to-hand combat. It should have been impossible. "Commander," his aide said nervously, The humans are requesting communication. Thexaval's mandibles clicked in anger. Put them through. Admiral Sullivan's face appeared on his screen. She looked calm, almost pleasant. That made her more terrifying than any threat could have. War Commander, she said politely, I wanted to thank you for the lesson. What lesson? You taught us that mercy is a luxury we can't afford, that sometimes, to protect the innocent, you have to become the monster. Kate's smile never wavered. We're very good students. The transmission ended, leaving Thexval staring at a blank screen. For the first time in his life, the great Cathara warrior felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. In the depths of space, human ships were already moving toward their next target. The war was far from over, but the rules had changed. The Kithara had wanted to teach humanity about death and destruction. They were about to learn that their students had surpassed their teachers. Captain Danny Roberts stood alone in his quarters aboard the UES Nemesis, staring at the mission briefing on his personal display. The words seemed to burn into his eyes no matter how many times he read them. Target: Kethmar breeding world. Population: 3 billion Cathara larvae and caretakers. Mission: complete sterilization. Danny had volunteered for this assignment. No one had forced him. But now, as his ship moved through hyperspace toward the Cathara nursery system, he wondered if he would be able to live with what he was about to do. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in. Commander Beth Johnson entered, her face drawn and tired. As the ship's weapons officer, she knew exactly what her role would be in the coming hours. Captain, I need to ask you something, she said quietly. Go ahead, Commander. Are we really going to do this, kill children? Danny set down his display and looked at her. Beth was a good officer. She had a family back on Earth, a husband and 2 young daughters. Tell me about your kids, Beth. She looked surprised by the question. Sir, your daughters, how old are they? Emma is 7, Sarah is 9. Her voice softened when she talked about them. They want to be pilots like their mom when they grow up. Danny nodded. The Kithara larvae on Kethmar will be adults in 15 years. When they are, they'll come for Earth. They'll come for Emma and Sarah. Beth was quiet for a long moment. The Cathara children didn't choose this war. Neither did ours. The bridge was silent when Danny arrived for the final approach. The crew moved through their pre-battle checks with mechanical precision, but he could see the tension in their faces. Everyone knew what they were about to do. Captain, we're dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Gary Mitchell from the navigation station. All stations, report readiness. Weapon systems online, Beth said, her voice steady despite everything. Sensors clear. No sign of Cathara Defense Forces, added Lieutenant Commander Steve Adams. Communications are ready, sir, said Ensign Carol Turner. Danny took his seat in the captain's chair. Through the main view screen, he could see the stars, beginning to shift as they dropped back into normal space. And there it was. Kethmar hung in space like a blue-green jewel. It was beautiful in a way that made Danny's chest tight. White clouds swirled over green continents and blue oceans. It looked almost like Earth. My God, whispered someone behind him. Captain, sensors are picking up massive structures on the surface, Steve reported. Nursery complexes, they're huge. On the tactical display, Danny could see them. Domed cities that stretched for hundreds of miles. Each one housed millions of Cathara young. They were being raised in safety and comfort while their parents conquered the galaxy. Sir, incoming transmission from the planet, Carol announced. Put it through. An elderly Kithara appeared on the screen. Unlike the warriors they had fought, this one moved slowly, his armor cracked with age. When he spoke, his voice was tired. Human vessel, I am Elder Kexthul, guardian of this world. We have no weapons here, no soldiers, only children and their caretakers. Danny stood up, his hands clasped behind his back. Elder, I am Captain Roberts of the Earth Defense Force. I'm here to deliver a message. What message? Your people chose war. Your people chose to show no mercy to human civilians. Now you get to see what that choice costs. The elder's red eyes flickered. These children have done nothing to you. Neither had the families on Prima Station, or New Tokyo, or any of the dozen colonies your people have burned. Danny gestured to Beth, who began entering targeting coordinates into the weapons system. The elder could see what she was doing. Captain, please. They are innocent. So were ours. The transmission ended. Danny sat back down in his chair and closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his face was like stone. Commander Johnson, you may fire when ready. Beth's hands hesitated over her controls. On the screen below, she could see the nursery cities clearly now. Millions of young lives all about to end because of a decision made by adults they had never met. Commander, Danny said quietly, I can relieve you of duty if you prefer. No one will think less of you. Beth looked at him, tears in her eyes. No, sir. If this is what it takes to protect our children, then I'll do it. Her finger pressed the firing button. The first kinetic bombardment rounds struck Kethmar like the fist of an angry god. Each tungsten rod carried the energy of a nuclear weapon, but without the radiation. The humans had learned to be efficient in their destruction. The largest nursery complex disappeared in a flash of light and heat. Then the second. Then the third. Danny watched in silence as the weapon systems automatically cycled through their targets. The ship's computers had calculated the most efficient way to sterilize the planet. Every nursery complex, every caretaker facility, every place where young Kithara might survive. Captain, we're getting communications from all over the planet, Carol reported, her voice shaking. Distress calls, pleas for mercy. Ignore them. The bombardment continued for 2 hours. When it was finished, the blue-green jewel of Kethmar was a brown ball of dust and fire. Nothing moved on its surface, nothing lived. All targets destroyed, sir, Beth reported. The planet is clean. Danny stood up and walked to the communications station. Open a channel to the Kithara home fleet. Carol's hands shook as she worked her controls. Channel open, sir. War Commander Thexval appeared on the screen. His red eyes were wide with shock and rage. Behind him, Danny could see other Kithara officers, all staring in disbelief. You have murdered our children, Thexval snarled. 3 billion innocents. Danny looked directly into the alien's eyes. Your children would have grown up to murder ours. That's the difference between us, Commander. We finish what we start. You are monsters. No, we're humans. And we're very good at learning from our teachers. Danny gestured to Carol, who cut the transmission. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of the ship's engines. Sir, Steve said quietly, long-range sensors are picking up Kithara ships throughout their territory. They're pulling back, retreating to defensive positions. Danny nodded. They're scared. Good. Fear will make them think twice before they attack another human world. But as the nemesis turned away from the dead world of Kethmar, Danny felt something cold settle in his chest. They had won a great victory today. They had probably saved millions of human lives. So why did he feel like they had lost something important? Set course for Earth, he ordered. It's time to go home. As they jumped back into hyperspace, leaving the graveyard of Kethmar behind them, Danny knew that the war was over. The Kithara would never recover from this blow. But he also knew that humanity had crossed a line they could never uncross. They had become the very thing they had fought against. And maybe, in a galaxy full of monsters, that was exactly what they needed to be. Admiral Kate Sullivan walked through the ruins of Vextar City, her boots crunching on broken glass and twisted metal. 6 months had passed since the destruction of Kethmar, and the Kithara hegemony had formally surrendered to the human colonial defense force. The once mighty capital of the Kithara Empire was now a shadow of its former self. The great towers that had reached toward the storm-filled sky lay broken and empty. The warrior priests who had once ruled 17 star systems now worked as laborers, clearing rubble under human supervision. Admiral Sullivan, came a voice behind her. She turned to see Captain Gary Mitchell approaching. a datapad in his hand. Gary had been promoted to military governor of the occupied territories after the war ended. "What's the status report, Captain?" she asked. "The Kythera are complying with all surrender terms," Gary replied. "Their remaining ships have been converted to civilian transports. Their colonies have been limited to 3 agricultural worlds, and the breeding program is now under our control." Kate nodded. The peace terms had been harsh but necessary. The Kythera could never again be allowed to threaten other species. They walked together through the city center, where a massive statue had once stood showing a Kythera warrior crushing the enemies of the Empire. Now it was just a pile of broken stone. Human soldiers stood guard at every intersection, their weapons ready. "Any problems with the population?" Kate asked. "Some resistance at first," Gary admitted. "But after we executed a few of the war criminals, the rest fell in line. They understand who's in charge now." In the distance, they could see groups of Kythera working to repair damaged buildings. The sight would have been impossible to imagine just a year ago. The galaxy's most feared warriors, reduced to construction workers. Dr. Rachel Turner approached them from a nearby building. She had been studying Kythera society for the past 6 months, trying to understand how to keep them peaceful. "Admiral, I've finished the psychological evaluation reports," Rachel said, handing Kate a thick folder. "The results are interesting." "How so?" "The Kythera mind is built around the concept of dominance," Rachel explained. "They only respect strength. For centuries, they were the strongest species in the galaxy, so they ruled. Now that we've proven we're stronger, they accept our rule without question." Kate opened the folder and scanned the first few pages. Charts and graphs showed Kythera behavior patterns over the past months. Crime was down, productivity was up. They were actually thriving under human rule. "It's like they needed someone to tell them what to do," Rachel continued. "Without the constant warfare that defined their culture, they're almost peaceful." A commotion down the street caught their attention. A group of human soldiers was dragging a Kythera in chains toward a transport vehicle. Kate recognized him immediately. Former war commander Thexval had been captured 3 months ago, hiding in the ruins of a military base. The once proud warrior looked thin and defeated, his natural armor cracked and dull. "Where are they taking him?" Kate asked. "Labor Camp 7, Gary replied. "He's been assigned to waste disposal duty." Kate watched as the former commander was loaded into the transport. Their eyes met for a moment through the vehicle's window. There was no anger in the alien's gaze anymore, only a kind of weary acceptance. "Asked to speak with you yesterday," Gary said quietly. "What did you tell him?" "That you were busy, but if you want to see him..." Kate considered it for a moment, then shook her head. "No, there's nothing left to say." They continued their tour of the city, eventually reaching the former government district. The Kythera Parliament building had been converted into a human administrative center. Inside, dozens of officers worked to manage the occupation. "Lieutenant," Commander Amy Carter looked up from her desk as they entered. She had been in charge of communications during the war, and now ran the Civil Affairs Department. "Admiral, we've received formal surrender documents from the last 3 Kythera colonies," Amy reported. "They're requesting permission to send food shipments to Vextar." "Approved," Kate said, "but all cargo gets inspected first." Amy nodded and made a note on her computer. "Also, we've received a message from the Galactic Council. They want to send a delegation to inspect our occupation procedures." Kate's expression hardened. The Galactic Council had spent years ignoring the Kythera threat. Now they suddenly cared about galactic justice. "Send them a reply," she said. "Tell them they're welcome to visit, but they'll follow our security protocols. And remind them that we're not members of their council." "Yes, ma'am." As they left the building, Gary pulled Kate aside. "Admiral, there's something else you should know. We've been monitoring communications from other species throughout the galaxy. Word is spreading about what we did to the Kythera." "What kind of word?" "They're scared." The Zentari ambassador recalled all their ships from human space. "The Vegan Collective has offered us exclusive trading rights. 3 minor species have asked for defense treaties." Kate wasn't surprised. Fear was a powerful motivator. The galaxy had watched humanity destroy the most dangerous species they had ever known. Now everyone wanted to be on humanity's good side. They walked to the spaceport where Kate's shuttle was waiting to take her back to Earth. Before boarding, she took one last look at the conquered city. "Do you ever wonder if we did the right thing?" Gary asked suddenly. Kate was quiet for a long moment. "Every day," she admitted. "But then I think about the alternative. How many species would the Cathera have destroyed if we hadn't stopped them? But the children would have grown up to be killers just like their parents. We saved the galaxy from a generation of monsters." Gary nodded, but she could see the doubt in his eyes. Kate understood. They all carried the weight of what they had done. But history would judge whether their choices had been right or wrong. Her shuttle lifted off from Vextar. Kate looked down at the planet below. The storm still raged across its surface just as they had for millions of years. But now the warriors who had conquered this deadly world served new masters. The flight back to Earth took several hours. Kate spent the time reviewing reports from across human space. Colonies were being rebuilt. Trade was booming. The war had made humanity stronger and more united than ever before, but it had also changed them in ways they were still discovering. When she finally arrived at Earth Defense Headquarters, Kate found a message waiting for her. It was from the commander of a deep space exploration vessel. They had made contact with a new species called the Thraxians. The aliens were asking about humanity's intentions in their region of space. Kate smiled as she composed her reply. The galaxy was learning that humanity was not like the other species. They were not conquerors or empire builders, but they were also not victims. They were survivors. And in a galaxy full of predators, sometimes the only way to protect the innocent was to become the apex predator yourself. The age of human expansion had begun, and every species in the galaxy knew one simple truth. When humans fought, mercy was gone. The Cathera had learned that lesson too late. Kate would make sure no one else made the same mistake.